Now, our Health Friday conversation today is going to be looking at the pharmaceutical sector in Kenya. And it would surprise you to hear that we actually have manufacturers of pharmaceutical products in Kenya, and many of them. There are many players. But how is it doing? How is it faring? Now, we want to talk to people who want to set up a plant in Kisumu and city.
Yes, please.
Are you going to now abandon us and go to Kisumu? And
I come from Kisumu. Have I abandoned you thus far?
Well, there was no pharmaceutical plant in Kisumu.
We also have a fish plant. Okay. Have I abandoned you?
Aye, even molasses.
We have.
The bus.
Yes.
Have
I abandoned in Muhoroni? We have even agrochemical. Have I abandoned you?
No, not this time.
Surely.
Kabisa. Okay. We are joined by two gentlemen.
Start again.
Okay.
We are joined by two gentlemen.
Yes. Dhiren Thakker is President and CEO at Med Aditus Pharmaceuticals Kenya, and Dr. Vincent Orinda is the director at the same organization, Med Aditus Pharmaceutical Kenya. Good morning, Dr. Aris.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great.
Welcome to the hot seat of the situation. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, Dhiren. How does it feel?
I feel great.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
We have always admired this program, and in fact, it's really a pleasure to be here. It's good to be here.
Karibuni sana. Finally, you made it.
Yes. And I'm sitting next to City.
I mean,
one thing, City has got this jacket. I always wondered, is this part of the whole? It never changes.
It's uniform.
And we hope it doesn't change it.
City. So, why don't you change your jacket, City?
And why should I change my jacket? Or am I to use the same logic that you asked about earlier on? No, I like this jacket. Yes.
Very good. No, it's a good one.
In case you're wondering, it will be washed over the weekend. So on Monday, I will still have it, yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about establishing what you're calling a transformative pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in Kisumu, what that is all about. You'll tell us about your organization, Med Aditus, and what it means. But first, City, with the day's proverb. So this week, City, you've been in the
Republic of Burundi. This is our final proverb from this particular country. This was once a kingdom, a fairly thriving kingdom. I mean, they had kings for decades. Then modernity caught up with them, and all manner of terrible things happened. The king was deposed, and God knows what else happened. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. The proverb: two skinny and weak dogs cannot fail to overcome a fierce animal.
Two skinny and weak dogs cannot fail to overcome a fierce animal.
Yes, these dogs have two adjectives attached to them: skinny and weak. Yes.
Dr. Orinda, what's your interpretation of this?
It's very interesting. Basically, if you're weak, or you think you have no power, and you're alone, you can't make it. But if two weak people come together, the power multiplies. And I think it makes sense that you can actually succeed. And it's not surprising we are two people here today.
But not weak.
And not dogs.
Dhiren, what's yours?
Sorry?
What's your interpretation?
We happen to agree on a lot of things, and I agree on this as well. That, when you have two or more individuals combine their power and they work in harmony, they can overcome real obstacles and challenges.
There's 15 numbers.
Yes.
Okay. So, Dhiren Thakker, you are President and CEO of Med Aditus Pharmaceutical Kenya. Before you tell us what Med Aditus is, what's the difference between President and CEO?
Well, President is sort of a administrative head, and CEO is Chief Administrative Officer. So it's they're legally two different functions, And at least in this company, we are combined. Once we grow, it is very possible that we may have president and CEO separate.
Okay. So it's like what we have in many organizations in Kenya, MD and CEO.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So what is Med Aditus?
So Med Aditus is stands for medicine, and Aditus is a Latin word for access. I try to find an English word for access to medicine because that's our mission, creating access to medicine. But you have to have a unique phrase or a word for a company, and all of the English combinations were taken by others. So then I decided to go to either Sanskrit or Latin, and I found the word Aditus, which means access, which also means discovery. It actually has 4 or 5 other meanings. I thought it was just perfect fit for what we want to do. It is harder to pronounce, but I decided that people will get used to it.
Over time.
Over time.
We'll get to know more about it.
Yes.
So what do you do? What does the company do?
So Med Aditus is a family of 3 companies. I founded initially Med Aditus International, which is a non-profit corporation, and that I founded with a mission to improve access to medicine in low middle income countries, because medicines, I've spent all my life in discovery development of medicines, and I have seen over the years that medicines can increase lifespan, increase quality of life, and this has happened in Western countries. But when there is not access to the medicine, sufficient access to medicine, we are really not achieving full potential of humans. So I feel strongly enough for this, and so I decided to leave the university where I was a professor and started a nonprofit. And then subsequently, we have formed Med Aditus Pharmaceuticals and Med Aditus Pharmaceuticals Kenya to specifically focus on developing pharmaceutical manufacturing capability and capacity in sub-Saharan Africa.
Manufacturing capability, right? So it's not the research bit. It's just the production side.
It's production, but there is plenty of innovation in that we are bringing to production of pharmaceuticals.
Okay. Now, Dr. Orinda.
Yes.
In Kisumu, setting up a plant there.
Yes.
Why Kisumu?
Interesting. Dhiren Thakker came to Kisumu 2021 at the invitation of Governor Nyong'o to explore where and how to start a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant. He had been to several countries, 8, almost 10 countries, looking at where he can do this. And he ended up with Rwanda and Kenya competing for this very innovative project. He had many reasons he will explain. And eventually, he decided to come to Kisumu for many reasons. When he met Governor Nyong'o told him, I have one bullet that I must use while I'm still here to bring some major success to this region. And we all, looked at him and said, well, this bullet needs to be used. And Dhiren looked at Kisumu. He went to Rwanda, came back to Kisumu, and he looked at the region, the situation of Kisumu at the lake, with access to many countries in the region. He looked at all other possibilities that comes with a supportive government and the county government. And then he met some good professionals. He met Dr. Professor Rogo, Dr. Rai, Dr. Ganda, and myself and others. And he was convinced that he can do business with these people. In fact, the story that goes that in Africa, it's always difficult to do any business because you find people always asking for what is in it for me. We have not asked Dhiren what is in it for us. We are doing it because we believe in serving our community and in actually contributing to the UHC, universal health coverage. And they will explain to you how Med Aditus brings in affordability and quality of drugs in manufacturing.
Okay. What are the challenges in manufacturing? Before then, we come into what is different about what Med Aditus is going to do. What are the challenges that are encountered by pharmaceutical companies in setting up, establishing, and manufacturing and distribution of drugs?
There are plenty of challenges. In fact, it is because of these challenges that the growth of pharmaceutical manufacturing sector in sub-Saharan Africa has been pretty slow, despite the best efforts and intentions of governments and private sector. The entire sub-Saharan Africa only has approximately 400 to 600 manufacturers, and if you compare that with India, with the approximately same population, India has 10,000 and counting. So, what are the problems here? What are the challenges? This is a highly regulated industry. So to build a pharmaceutical manufacturing factory, you have to really build highly specialized space, thousands of square meters of space, which is expensive to build. It requires technical expertise, so which means that you really require high level of capital. It takes a long time to, at least in this part of the world, it takes a long time to build such facilities. So it may take as much as 5 to 7 years to build one because of lack of access to many of the resources. And once it is built, to run such a manufacturing facility, which is such a regulated sort of industry, there are so many rules and regulations to achieve the level of quality that one needs to achieve. And this is just technically and financially challenging. So there are a number of, and then of course, workforce. Access to workforce is sometimes a real challenge too.
What would it mean? I'm just looking at the medical space. I'm looking at post-COVID or even during COVID, when there was huge need at some point, perceived or otherwise, to have proximity of availability of medicine.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So if we say that there's a plant in Kenya feeding the region, feeding the country, what would that mean in terms of strides for this space?
Well, I think that you ask a very good question and make a very good point. What the current sort of a model is that a lot of manufacturing capacity is concentrated in a few regions in the world: India, China, Europe, North America. So imagine that there are needs for medicines in this part of the world. Most of these medicines have to be imported, which means there's a long supply chain coming from India to Africa. There's a transportation of the goods from where it is manufactured to the port. Then it comes to a port in one of the African countries. Then it goes inland. Takes time. It becomes expensive. But very importantly, the countries here rely on other countries to provide that. So imagine what happened in COVID. When things got rough, the countries that were manufacturing drugs and vaccines, they wanted to make sure that their people are taken care of first.
Yes.
And as a result, many of the countries absolutely did not get access to vaccine. So I think it is very important for us going forward to develop distributed pharmaceutical manufacturing sort of a model. If you make drug in Kenya, then it is so much faster and easier to really get that drug to patients in Kenya and maybe in the surrounding regions. We believe that is the model of the future, and we want to actually bring technology to Kenya that promotes that kind of model. That is what we want to actually accomplish. Proof of concept that you can set something up in Kenya, and we can show the success, and then we can actually replicate that in other countries and create local capacity so that there is a short supply chain, and the company that is manufacturing drugs is more responsive to the local needs of the people.
Okay. Dr. Orinda, there are many pharmaceutical manufacturing plants in Kenya.
Yes.
Right? Some have been there for years, for decades. So what would be different about this one?
It is really amazing that Dhiren chose to come to Kenya. The technology that is bringing it is the first time it's being introduced in Africa. It's technology that is already being used in Europe and the USA, and in fact, we will tell you more about it, that it is continuous modular manufacturing, as opposed to the batch manufacturing processes that are there.
Okay, explain that.
The quality assurance that is there is by tablet. It's not by batch. I'd like Dhiren to expand on this because he is the expert. And he has brought this technology to us, and we are very excited. So we are not really bringing something that is already being used in Kenya. It's not. This is the first time.
This is the first time that this is being done in Kenya.
And in Africa.
Have you been in the pharma space yourself?
No, I'm a doctor, pediatrician. I've been in United Nations. I've been in programming, and I've been developing and supporting countries.
Yes.
I have worked in South Africa and Namibia. I've worked in New York as a senior advisor for children's health for UNICEF. I've worked with many countries, and I can support programs such as this in a way that makes a difference.
Okay, explain the tech.
Yeah, so this is and I'm not. This is not a hyperbole. This is a transformative technology, and let me explain what this does. The entire manufacturing production line can be placed in a 100 square meter room. 100 square meter room. Compare that to the way we have been manufacturing pharmaceuticals for the last 30, 40 years. Actually, you need to build a fairly complex, several rooms, several unit operations. You need something of the order of 4,000 to 5,000 square meter compared to 100 square meter. So obviously, you can just imagine how much easier it is to build a space for this continuous manufacturing. Very compact, very small footprint. So that is one big advantage. The second very important difference between the traditional approach and continuous manufacturing is that in continuous manufacturing process, you feed the ingredients. It's sort of a vertically configured machinery. You feed the ingredients at the top. The ingredients get metered in accurately. They go into a high efficiency mixer, and from there they go into the tablet press. So from the start of the process to the time tablets come out, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay?
3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, tablet starts coming out after you start the process.
Compared to how long?
Compared to batch manufacturing, where from the time you start the process to the time the tablets come out, is anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So now you can see.
What's the size of a batch?
Yeah.
So, that's a good question. In a batch manufacturing, you have to predetermine that do I want to make 500 kilo batch, which means do I want to make 50 million tablets, or do I want to make 500 million tablets? So they have to first decide that, and then in fact, the machineries that you use really kind of confines you to certain batch size. Okay? In continuous manufacturing, the batch size is how long you run the machine. If you run for a week, you get, let's say, 50 million tablets. You run for a month, you get 200 million tablets. So it is a very flexible, agile sort of approach to producing drugs.
Okay. What spectrum of drugs are we talking about that could essentially be produced? Or you're just going to say, let's do everything, antibiotics, painkillers. I mean, I'm probably making it really rudimentary, but just trying to understand here that because it exists, one would imagine, all right, well, we've got a plant, any kind of medicine that would be needed, especially if you take a look at the disease burden in Kenya, across board, what it could be, whether you're treating cancers, whether you're treating your non-communicable, whatever it is, would you then say and look at the region and say, these are the kinds of drugs we would produce based on the disease burden? Or would you take into consideration what the region might need and say, we can also produce for the region? How would you decide then what you would produce?
Yeah, if I could just start with the technology. This technology allows us to make various different products. You can change from one product to making a second product within a matter of 2 or 3 days by cleaning the machinery, cleaning the room. Again, I just want to go back to the batch. For batch process, if you want to go from one product to the second product, it'll take you anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks to go from to transfer the machinery from one product to other one, because you have to absolutely clean everything, so there is no contamination in a new product from the old product. So this is again a very agile system. So we can make any number of products that we plan to make. We have decided to start our initially offer products that will treat cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, cancer, the so-called non-communicable diseases. We decided to start with that because we have seen, of course, everything we do is based on market research and data that we have acquired. We know that these non-communicable diseases are increasing in terms of numbers of people getting them. And they are actually creating a bigger toll on human life. The communicable diseases continue, but we believe that there is less attention being paid to treating non-communicable diseases. So we want to come in and meet unmet patient need, but we are a business. We want to be a successful business. So we believe that by going into those products first, we will actually create a market advantage for ourselves. And then over a period of time, we will broaden our portfolio. We will also make the HIV, malaria, tuberculosis drugs as well. We also want to later on bring in medicines for neglected tropical disease, which is an important area to treat in this area. We are
having our Health Friday conversation today about pharmaceutical manufacturing in Kenya, and a transformative pharmaceutical manufacturing plant is being set up in Kisumu by Med Aditus. The president and CEO of Med Aditus is Dhiren Thakker, and Dr. Vincent Orinda is the director at the same company, Med Aditus. They'll tell us more about it, its transformative, and what then we expect to see out of it. Another question.
I did.
Please go.
Everything that I've heard. Let me proceed.
Away.
Yes. Everything I've heard so far simply says this: we are not reinventing the process.
Just hold that mic. Just shikilia tu kwa mkono.
You need to behave.
Just hold it.
Okay.
Hold it like that.
Okay. We are not reinventing the wheel as far as drugs are concerned. We are saying you will have drugs that cater for the medical needs you will have. What we're doing is we want to ensure that the process of getting the drug to you is efficient. There's a word that comes in, it's called economies of scale. We are going to produce it at a much faster rate, at a more efficient rate. And what that means is we'll be able to get these drugs in larger numbers to you. And because of these factors, it will be cheaper. So far, have I understood that to be correct?
You are correct.
Okay. How then does this factor when you are talking about, one, the process of ensuring that the patient actually benefits? Because there's the issue of cost here. We've mentioned it, but we haven't looked at it granularly to say, okay, this cost that you speak of, how exactly will it be? Then there's the matter of the universal health care processes that we have been talking about in this country. How exactly does that feature and how does that weave into this conversation? Let me start with you, Dr. Orinda.
Thank you very much for a good question. Universal health coverage basically means that all people have access to quality health services without financial hardship. That is the meaning of universal health coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's quality, access, and
affordability.
Affordable
is very critical.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, that this is very much in line with our Constitution, Article number 43, which says that every person has a right to the highest attainable standard of health, which includes the right to health care. Now, these rights have been more or less disadvantaged because of the high cost of health care in general. And amongst these are drugs and medicines, the issues of diagnostics, and of course other issues that come into healthcare costs. Now, if you can reduce the cost of drugs, and Dhiren will tell you that this process actually reduces cost of drug by up to 50%. Yes.
Okay.
That is highly significant. Not only that, it also, Dhiren's technology also increases the volume of drugs manufacturing in a small space. In fact, one unit can produce up to 2 to 3 billion tablets a year. We're talking big scale stuff.
So we're talking about production per square meter.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see.
We're talking big volumes, we're talking big quality, we're talking affordability. So if you're looking at universal health care coverage, which has got basic elements of population coverage, of service package, and financial sustainability, financial affordability. Those things are fitting very well in this project, and Dhiren can explain a little more on some of these areas.
I just want to touch on something, Dr. Orinda. I mean, it's phenomenal just to imagine what could actually happen. And I think about, just as an example, antibiotics that you would give a child for 10 days or 14 days, 7 days, whatever the case may be. And if we look at the very basic in Kenya today for a bacterial infection, for example, a child the age of 8 years old is going to take that for 7 days, 10 days. And if you don't have insurance and you're paying out of pocket, you're easily paying 3,000 shillings for that dose of antibiotics. So what we are saying now, essentially, is that more or less, you'll be able to pay 1,500 shillings for the same thing, similar if not more in terms of potency and effectiveness and efficacy at that price, right? But then what I'm confused about, I'm not even confused, I'm just, I guess, gobsmacked, is that why has this never been done here before?
Well, everything has its right time.
Yeah.
Technology advances over time. This new technology. And we are just lucky that we have Dhiren who comes in and says, let me bring this technology to Kenya and to Africa so that it can benefit many, many more people. So it's a matter of people like Dhiren with goodwill who says, well, I want to do good to people. In fact, I usually talk about private for public good. This is a perfect case of private for public good, so that we can be able to effect change and also, increase the quality of life. If you look at the landscape in the health sector or in health in general, we have had many ups and downs. The COVID came, the HIV/AIDS came. Our life expectancy was on a roller coaster at some stage. We are up now in Kenya is about 62, 66 years, and also increasing. And in fact, we have seen even a drastic drop in child mortality. Infant mortality has dropped quite a bit, and under 5 mortality has dropped quite significantly. Between 2003 to 2022, we do what we call demographic and health surveys, done in 2003, the 2014, and the most recent one, 2022. It shows that Kenya has really made advance in these areas for mortality. And child mortality is a very good indicator of our health status. So in many ways, we are coming in at a point where mortality is going down, but at the same time, the non-communicable diseases are going up. In other words, adult mortality becomes a big problem. So Dhiren comes in at a time when actually all these things can happen all at the same time. And Dhiren, maybe you can add a little more there.
Yeah, to just expand on that, you asked why this hasn't been done before. Well, this technology actually was developed only 10 to 15 years, last 10 to 15 years.
Still new.
And interestingly, this technology was developed by several multinational pharmaceutical companies who generally focus on profit. And they did it because they realized that they cannot rely on one area like India or China to make their drugs to distribute everywhere else. They realize that it puts their supply in jeopardy. So they have developed this technology so they have capability to distribute manufacturing across different areas. So now we can take advantage of that. We want to do the same thing, but for a different reason. I want to do this because I want to bring manufacturing capability in African countries where it is needed. So we can use that technology to distribute manufacturing within Africa. This is not just about us making drugs. We want to show with a proof of concept that this technology works, it can be deployed in Africa, and once people accept that, I think we can bring a lot more investment and we can begin to replicate this in other parts of Kenya, but also other parts of sub-Saharan Africa. That is how we want to actually take advantage of something that developed in the last 10, 15 years. I also want to talk about one more technology, if you may, if I could indulge. So there are two aspects of medicines. There's quality and there is affordability, right? And often these two forces work against each other. You try to improve quality, you increase costs. In fact, you know that in this country, European drugs, which are of high quality, are much more expensive than drugs made in locally or in India or China. Well, I think what we want to accomplish is both. We can create high quality medicines at the same level of quality that patients get in North America and Europe. We are compromising here in this part of the world. We are accepting lower quality. We should not. So we are automating a lot of the quality management systems. We are digitizing it so that we can actually make it work. We can achieve the quality by having all the processes that are automated and digitized. But once you digitize the processes, the data is all digital, and people worry that you now have the capability of fudging the data or manipulating the data, right? We want to preempt that, and so we are bringing what is known as blockchain data architecture. So all our operations, manufacturing, distribution, will be embedded in blockchain data architecture. So why that really assures quality? Blockchain, by its nature, will not allow anybody to go in and change the data without leaving an audit trail. So once the data goes in, it's immutable. Yeah. So so we want everybody to know that the data we will generate will have absolute integrity because it will be protected by blockchain. And secondly, this data is very flexible. We can share, there's a vast amount of data. We can share that with our stakeholders, depending on who wants to access the data, regulators, government, global procurers. We can actually segment this data and make them available to this, so that we become a very transparent company in producing quality. So we want to create high quality, but keep the cost down. That is what we want to achieve. I know a lot of people don't believe it, but we are going to make it happen.
You'll make it work. Dhiren, you've mentioned a number of times in this conversation today proof of concept, that you want to have proof of concept to show, to demonstrate that it works.
Yes.
That everything that you've told us, about lowering costs, even costs of investment is going to be low. The space needed is low. The consumables used low. The cost of the product that comes out is going to be even more affordable to the consumers. But we still need proof of concept. Are we saying that this is not yet tried and tested, that we have nowhere else that we can show that this is working? Why do we need to have a proof of concept in Kisumu?
Yeah, and that's because, in fact, when I started this conversation with people who know these technologies and people who know the business, they say, well, you can't make it work in Africa. Because, because they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have, the workforce, and that is the proof of concept I'm talking about.
I don't get it. We have land.
Yes.
You need much less land than others would require. We have trained pharmacists who graduate out of our universities every year. We have workforce. In fact, we have even farm techs who are coming out of KMTC and other colleges. So we have a trained workforce here. We've got power. Power is available. There are other manufacturing plants. What is it that they're saying that we don't have?
We even have engineers.
Yes. Yeah, but...
What are they saying we don't have?
I think it is not... I think the source of that comment is correct. This is a new technology. It's highly automated. I describe that as a simplified process, but the machinery is quite complex. So I think there are non-believers who think that this cannot be really deployed in Africa. Yeah. It might not work, it might not function, it breaks down, how are you going to fix it? So there are a lot of concerns. And we have answered that question by creating a very different business model. Instead of bringing that technology and bringing blockchain and manufacturing technology and making it work here by ourselves, we Med Aditus, we believe we are the convener of strategic partners. So we have brought a company from Germany, Glad, that makes the machinery that have world's expertise. We have a company called Remedy that is a world leader in healthcare application of blockchain. These are our partners. They are making the same commitment we are making to make this work. So, government of County of Kisumu, our partner. As you know, something like this requires infrastructure, needs support. So these are just 3 examples of partnerships that we put together. But every partner we have must have the same philosophical underpinning. They want to do this for the right reason. That is really our motivation. That's how we have put together several partnerships. We believe by doing so, we are de-risking the project. Every investor will say, the project is risky, and we have been able to show that we have de-risked this. That is what I mean by proof of concept. Once we make this happen, Gates, who is a non-believer Gates does not believe that this can be done in Africa. We want to make him a believer. And hopefully then he will invest a lot more money here.
In fact, Governor Nyong'o put in place a very strong technical team. People within the county and also out of the county. And he asked me to be the chair of that technical team. It's called a task force, to support Dhiren in this whole process. And this task team has been meeting for the last 2 years, quietly, looking at all the parameters, what needs to be done, etc., etc. And we have looked at all the issues of land, all the issues of the things that are needed in this factory. And it's a very good model, actually, that an investor can come in like Dhiren and find a strong technical team to work with. And a technical team that really we know what we're doing. And basically, it has given Dhiren a level of comfort. So this is part of this proof of concept that things can work.
It's doable.
Things are doable. And our team, let me say this for the nation to hear, we have not asked Dhiren for what is in it for us. Dhiren is here, can say. We are there to do good and do it professionally.
Yeah.
And we have, I've mentioned names before. We have Professor Kamarogo, we have Dr. Rai, Dr. Ganda, Dr. Kelly, people who are working with
renowned professionals in the healthcare space.
Yes, and we are determined, actually, to make this work. So in many ways, we bring in know-how, we bring in a certain level of experience and expertise.
In terms of the resourcing,
yes,
right? I know. So among the things, of course, I've got to ask Dhiren is where is he getting the money from?
Yeah.
But then what else is the county government of Kisumu supporting with? So are you, for example, establishing a special economic zone that then gives Dhiren the tax benefits of setting up at a special economic zone? Or is it in the KIPES county aggregation and industrial parks? Are you setting up in a special zone that helps to do this? In terms of access to power, access to water, access to all this, what's the county government of Kisumu?
Well, we really need to give credit to Governor Nyong'o for his vision and his commitment to this process. In fact, I think he sees it as one of his flagship projects. And within that framework, he drafted a concession agreement with Dhiren, and also he organized a public participation to make sure that the public are very much aware, so that we can look at a people-centered approach and a social accountability that is needed to support this kind of factory. And when we had public participation 2 weeks ago, it was very evident that the public were very supportive, and they were asked a few questions, including waste and environmental impact. And they were assured by Dhiren that given the technology and the small footprint that this comes with, that the impact on the environment will not be as bad as people think. So that aspect of community participation, Dr. Governor Nyong'o has taken care of. And then the aspect of services to a special economic zone, which includes roads, electricity, water, waste management. Those are issues which are being addressed. And our technical team are actually looking at that because we have people expert in those areas. And the special economic zone, of course, is now the next step. And we are hoping that SESA, Special Economic Zone Authority, can grant us a special economic zone status, even as we are going forward. And we know that will happen because we have a ready investor, we have a good technology, we have a good hope, and it is fitting within the UHC approach in this country. And I want to say that it's coming even when we are changing from NHIF to Shisha. People are talking about this.
Taifa. It's now called Taifa.
Yeah, Taifa. And let me tell you, we have been engaged in health sector development in a very big way. And the dialogue that is happening today in Kenya with the Taifa Health is very important, because if you look at NHIF before, the benefits were not that much. They were very little. I mean, you look at and we have opportunity to do a lot more. But that's another story. But coming back to this story of Kisumu, Governor Nyong'o has provided a lot of support, and with technical team they are supporting Dhiren, and Dhiren also has a very big technical team. I think the proof of concept is already happening, and we are going to say that this is going to happen.
What's the level of investment we're looking at here?
Let Dhiren respond to that.
And how many people do we expect to get employment here? What's the impact that we expect?
Yeah, first I'll talk about impact. The impact is going to be
a minute and a half.
Yeah, impact is going to be huge, because we believe that not only we will produce medicines that will be available to people at low cost and good quality, but I think because of what we are doing, it will replicate, and we will have much faster growth of the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector. That is going to be the impact. This project is approximately $40 million project that includes capital costs as well as operating costs for first 2, 3, 4 years until we become profitable. And because of the fact that we de-risk this, several development banks got interested in us, and they have decided to really, one of the banks has decided, Afrexim Bank has decided to really go forward with us. And we are bringing private investment, equity investment in parallel to that. And we are surprising people. We are raising money at a much faster pace than most people expected.
Okay.
Maybe Dhiren can also mention about the time duration. People do not expect that tomorrow.
Yeah, when are we expecting this plant?
Yes.
Well, we are moving very fast. We don't have time to explain how we are trying to really bring drugs fast to market. But because of, again, partnerships, in 3 years, we will have drugs on the market.
In 3 years' time?
Yeah, which is very fast in this industry.
2027?
Yeah.
Okay. Dhiren Thakker is the president and CEO of Med Aditus Pharmaceutical Kenya, and Dr. Vincent Orinda, director of the same Med Aditus Pharmaceutical Kenya, talking about establishing a new transformative pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in Kisumu.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.